Mondo cool! That's right, boys. Mondo cool.
Ys the Oath in Felghana is a reimagining of the original 16-bit Ys 3 Wanders from Ys for the Super NES, Genesis, and TurboGrafx-16. It took the original and completely reworked it from the ground up into something almost unrecognizable, yet still familiar. This game was developed by Falcom and published by XSEED Games. If you like the look of old PS1 games, you'll feel right at home with Ys the Oath in Felghana. Not to say that it looks exactly like a PS1 game, but rather that it's reminiscent. The game sports 3D environments with 2D sprites for characters and enemies. There are two versions of this game, the PC version and the PSP version. The graphics are largely the same for both, but obviously the PC version is sharper and overall the better looking version. Either version you decide to pick up, however, you're going to be getting a charming looking game. It's by no means a technical feat, but it plays fast and very rarely ever drops in frames per second. The FMV sequences in the game are also very nice and complement the game well. I just wish there were more of them. Otherwise, this game's visuals probably won't blow anyone away, but they certainly get the job done, and will definitely appeal more to some than others, and if you're one of those people that it does appeal to, you will surely appreciate this game's look as much as I do. The voice acting in this game is fairly solid. In particular, the voice actors for Dogi and Chester were easily the best voice actors in the game. They complemented the characters very well and suited them almost perfectly as they delivered their lines appropriately. However, what really stands out in the audio department in this game is the music. The soundtrack for this game is godly. It's easily one of the best video game soundtracks I have ever heard. Falcom JDK Band should be proud, because this soundtrack is something to be revered. The music is absolutely outstanding. From songs that rock out hard, to others that feel sweeping and epic, to ones that are soft and calming, the soundtrack is, in a word, amazing. And I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Go out and get the soundtrack if you can. It is well worth it. The game follows our ever-faithful protagonist, Adol Christian, and his good buddy Dogi. After hearing from their travels that there's something gone awry back in Dogi's homeland of Felghana, the two set out to see what happened since Dogi's absence. It turns out that the land is infested with monsters, and is being heavily subjugated by its ruler, Count Maguire. Being the, genuinely good guy that Adol is, he takes it upon himself to find out what's going on so he can save the land of Felghana. Just another adventure for our good friend Adol. If you're a fan of the Ys series, then you would know that the Ys series, while tightly written, is rarely ever compelling. These are simple stories with charming characters and nothing more. With that in mind, Ys the Oath in Felghana largely stays faithful to this mindset. However, I must admit, there were a few plot twists in particular that occurred late in the game that genuinely took me off guard. I actually didn't see them coming, and for this, I have to give the game credit. Despite this, the story still largely remains in line from what we expect from Ys. Charming, simple stories that really don't need to be any more complex than what they already are. Ys harkens back to simpler times. It's supposed to remind you of what it's like to simply play a video game like when you were younger, and not dazzle you with a deep and complex story that makes you question life or the human condition or something outlandish like that. It's just meant to be fun and give you the excuse to go on an adventure. If you truly want to get into a game with a really engrossing narrative, then I would say look elsewhere, because that's not what Ys is about. The Ys series is an action RPG series, mostly focusing on the action more so than the RPG. Combat in this game is fun and fast. Despite the combat being fairly simple, the game is fun and short enough to where it doesn't outstay its welcome. Where the combat really shines though is during the boss fights. Each boss fight is like an event. Each requires entirely different strategies in order to defeat. Since this game doesn't have any healing items, you have to rely on your own skill in order to win. Just trying to muscle your way through these fights isn't going to cut it. Sometimes it takes practice to beat these bosses, but beating them feels so satisfying and easily makes it one of the best parts of the game. As you play through the game, Adol also receives different bracelets that give him spells. These spells can be used in combat, but can also be used for platforming and for finding secrets with extra goodies to aid you in your journey. As Adol defeats enemies, he levels up just like in any other RPG. However, he can also find this special ore called Ravel that he can use to temper his equipment and make it stronger. Everything is very tightly put together in this game and feels very deliberate. And as such, there isn't really much to complain about, except for the platforming. I have to get into this. I wouldn't go as far as to say that the platforming is bad. Bad is not the word for it. However, it is a noticeably weaker aspect of the game compared to everything else, which is polished to a mere shine. Thankfully, platforming doesn't play a large role in the game. You won't be doing it that much. Unfortunately, it does become more prevalent late in the game, and the platforming during that segment becomes more complex. Therefore, more needlessly frustrating than it needs to be, because it's very clear playing this game that the jumping controls were tailor-made for the combat first and platforming second. The game also has an element of exploration, in that you go back to previous areas that you've been to find items that you were unable to procure the first time around because you didn't have a certain skill or maybe a spell. This is very similar to Metroid and Castlevania. However, I would have liked if the game filled the world more with things that you could find, because the way that it is now, it just feels underutilized. It's there and it's nice, but it's not enough in my opinion. But this is more of a nitpick than anything else. Honestly, most of my complaints are nitpicks, because this game is very solidly made, and honestly, there isn't much to complain about or to criticize. Ys the Oath in Felghana is a superb game. It's fun, it's fast, and it harkens back to retro-style games, with its challenge and general look and feel. If you are interested in getting into the Ys series, then this is definitely a good place to start, as this is easily one of the best games in the series. With my personal favorite still remaining, Ys 7, Oath in Felghana has wormed its way into my heart as my second favorite in the series. Whether you're on Steam or on the PSP, this game is a must-have for fans and newcomers alike. This game lasts about 10 hours in the main campaign, but it has New Game Plus, multiple difficulties, which inspire tons of replay value. This has been Shintai, folks. Take it easy. Hello everyone, it's your friend, your buddy old pal, your host, Shintai, and here I have shameless self-promotion. Yeah. Now I didn't do one last time because fuck Phantasy Star Universe. I hate that game. That review was one of the longer reviews that I've done where it was just me by myself because I had so many things to trash about in that stupid game. It's back. Shameless self-promotion. You know you love it. I do. Here on the left, I've got Ys 7. Love that segue. Because I reviewed an Ys game today, obviously. Hello? Come on. Get with the program. Get with the program. And on the right here, I have The Last Story. And the reason I have that there is because all 3 of these games are released by XSEED Games. You should buy their games because they're really cool. I'm actually going to review another XSEED XSEED Games game soon called Killer is Dead, which is a Suda51 game. I love Suda51, and that game's been getting a lot of crap lately. Don't know why. I love it, and you'll see why. But yeah, I never know how to finish these. That's all there is. Peace.